Nintendo recently remade and re-released Star Fox 64 for the Nintendo Switch 2. Why? Did we need this? I don't know. Let's talk about it. You know what we do need? You to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. The Star Fox re-release was definitely an interesting one when they announced it. I wasn't really sure what to make of it. It seems like they put a lot of effort into remaking this game, but didn't do much to add or expand on that base experience from the N64. I assume it has to do with the recent Mario Galaxy movie, which featured Star Fox as a character. They seem to want to get this character back out into the mainstream, and so decided this was the way to do it, and I'm really not sure that it was. The game itself is fine, but it's also really a product of its time, and would hope that if they are going to continue with this character, they do something to expand on the game in the future. Now, the gameplay itself is fine. I personally have actually never played the N64 Star Fox. I was a Super Nintendo Star Fox guy. Love that original Super Nintendo game. And really, this game feels a lot like that one. Honestly, just feels like a remake of the Super Nintendo Star Fox. The levels feel very similar. Even some of the events that happen within the levels reminded me of events that happened in the original Star Fox game. The gameplay itself is pretty straightforward. It's essentially a rail shooter. You fly through the levels, shooting enemies as they appear, usually ending with a boss of some kind, and it is fun for what it is. I enjoyed the gameplay. I did feel like it took a little getting used to get the controls down, especially when you get into the free flying levels where you are kind of in an arena fighting usually Wolf and his little squad. That could be very challenging for me initially. I felt like I hit a wall towards the end of my first playthrough playing through some of those levels, because you really do need to get a feel for how the flying works, the different ways you can maneuver. But once you do get a feel for it, the game becomes very satisfying. It's an arcadey game, but it controls pretty tightly, and you can have some real moments of ace combat kind of feeling where you're flying around, not taking damage, hitting the enemies, and the dogfights that you can have can actually get pretty engaging and intense. Honestly, I would love to see them kind of take that arena-based level design and apply it to a much larger game. Get rid of the more on-rails levels, since those don't really feel as engaging. Those are mostly just go down a hallway, shoot the enemies as they appear. It never felt like enough enemies were appearing either for it to be too engaging. I think those more arena-based levels, that's where this game really shines, and it'd be cool to see if they do make a new Star Fox game in the future. It'd be cool to see that. The levels themselves are also fairly straightforward. None of them are very long, which again makes sense. This really does feel like an arcade game that they just put out on a console, so the levels are pretty quick. You can go through them pretty quick. And there's a good number of them. You unfortunately have to unlock them doing the campaign. So the campaign is essentially 7 levels. You always start on Corneria and you always end at Andross's lair, and many of the levels have branching pathways within them. If you do something specific while playing a level, you will unlock one of the paths, essentially. So this made unlocking all the levels kind of a chore. They do have a mode where you can play individual levels. You can just pick the level and play it, and the level has challenges that you can do. I don't know why they didn't just let you unlock the next path level that way. It was annoying to have to replay the campaign, because again, then you're playing the campaign, which doesn't let you do the challenges for the levels. So it just always felt redundant. Why am I replaying this level? Because I'm really only replaying it to unlock that level. And there's all these challenges I could be doing for this level, but I can't do that to then unlock the other levels. And so just make it a little more streamlined. I think they did that genuinely to pad out the runtime, because this game is very short. There's not that many levels, and if you could be progressing towards both the challenges and unlocking the levels, well, then that's even less time you're going to be spending to kind of do everything. And honestly, the challenges themselves are not that impactful. It's essentially just play through this level and do this specific thing, or don't take damage here, or whatever else. And for me personally, that's not something I'm looking for. Really, this game appeals mostly to those people who want to do score attacks, rerun through levels, maybe speed run, things like that, which is not something I'm interested in. So I'm not going to say it's not good, because again, I think that core gameplay is solid, it is fun to play, but for me, it just was not a replayable game. So I'm glad that it was a slightly cheaper, full-price game from Nintendo's side. The main draw about this game, I assume, is the updated graphics and the updated cutscenes and story missions. The graphics themselves are phenomenal. It's great to see some of these Switch 2 games come out that really are trying to push the limits of the system in the visual department, what it can put out. The game just looks great, and other than the animals being in that kind of creepy, uncanny valley because they designed them to be realistic looking animals, that's a little creepy, but it still looks great, and it looks really good in action. But the cutscenes themselves, this just adds to the question I have of why did we remake this game? If you're going to put this much effort into making a game, any game, I don't know why it was this one. It seems like they put a lot of emphasis on these new cutscenes and the expanded story, but the story is borderline non-existent. The cutscenes are mostly pointless. You go back to the ship with your little gang and you have a quick chat with the general. All those chats are mostly meaningless. None of them let Fox come off as anything but unlikable. I know they're going for he's a rogue, kind of Han Solo type character, but he just doesn't come off as likable. And neither do most of the game. I know Falco's bit is kind of he's a gruff jerk kind of person, but it just doesn't come off well in the cutscenes. And then on top of that, the cutscenes don't really do much. It's mostly just, oh, thank you for helping us here, Fox. Now we need help over here because Andros is attacking our forces, or this supply thing, or this whatever. It's just set dressing for the level you're going into. And so that begs the question, why? Why did we put so much time and money and effort into this game in particular? If you wanted to make a Star Fox game, make a new one and make a real story there. I just can't understand why this was the game they decided to put this kind of effort into when there's really no story. It's so paper thin, and that seemed to be a big selling point of this remake, is that they added these cutscenes. You just want to skip them. There's barely any point to watching them, and especially after a first playthrough, you are just skipping them. It doesn't matter. But I think overall, that's kind of the main question. This is a nice game. It's fine for what it is. It plays well, it controls well. I actually really liked the mouse controls, which brings you into the cockpit view. So there's a lot of good there, but the game itself doesn't have a lot of levels. Most of the on-rails levels are not that fun or engaging. Unless you're the kind of person who wants to replay things over and over and do challenges and all that, you're not going to spend a lot of time with this game. Graphically, it looks great. Story-wise is pointless. It wasn't meant to be a game with a story back then, and you can't really do much to flesh that out here. It's like it's nice to have, but also why is this what we have kind of a thing is sort of my ending thoughts. It's not bad to have this game, but it just feels like they could have put that time and effort into either way expanding this game, but really just make a new Star Fox game. Explore the idea of a more open world kind of thing. The free arena, free-flying levels are the best parts of this game. It would have been great to make that have it be a much more explorable level. Make it full 3D. Let me travel around, do stuff. I think there's a lot of potential there. Make it kind of a hybrid with the Star Fox adventure game. Let you fly around, do some exploring there, and then land on a planet and do some exploring like you did in that game. That's a game that we need on GameCube. So I don't know. It's cool, but why? That's the question I still can't answer. But maybe you can, so let me know in the comments down below. Why Star Fox? Are you glad to have this game? Is it perfect the way it is? Am I overthinking it? Leave a comment, let me know. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all with the next video.